Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. You know how much we love digging into the specifics of stories you're all curious about.
Absolutely.
And this one comes straight from listener request.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, you wanted to know more about how Aboriginal Australians are using fire to manage the land.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
It is, and to really get into it, we're focusing on the Jaw people,
Okay.
and we're going to be looking closely at a conversation between two Aboriginal fire practitioners, Mick Bork and Amos Atkinson,
Right.
and a researcher named Timothy Neal.
Sounds like a good mix.
Yeah. And there's some really intriguing stuff in here, like this concept of Jandakwi.
Jandat Wei.
Yeah, it's about how the Jawarung people use fire to kind of achieve their aspirations for the land.
Interesting.
We're also going to be talking about the difference between cultural burns and what Amos Atkinson calls warfare burns.
Oh, wow. That sounds pretty intense.
It is, and we'll also touch on the challenges of working with government agencies
I can imagine.
and finding those champions,
Yeah.
those people who are really committed to collaborating.
Yeah, the ones who really get it.
Exactly. So to set the scene a little bit, for
Mhm.
over 60,000 years, Aboriginal Australians have been using fire to manage the land.
It's incredible that depth of knowledge.
I know, it's mind-blowing. And, colonization really disrupted those practices, and that's had some pretty negative consequences.
Yeah, it's a pattern we see repeated around the world, isn't it?
It is, but it's also a story of resilience because despite all of that, Aboriginal culture and knowledge has persisted.
Absolutely. It's inspiring.
It is. And so in 2013, there was this recognition and settlement agreement
Right.
that returned over 40,000 hectares of land to the Jawarong.
Yeah, that was a landmark decision.
It was. And it also recognized their right to manage that land using their traditional knowledge.
Which is huge.
Huge,
Right.
because for so long they were kind of excluded from those decisions.
Exactly. Brought in as an afterthought, if at all.
Exactly. So this was a major shift. They're finally being included at the start of the process.
Yeah, and that changes everything, doesn't it?
It does. And Mick Bork talks a lot about the importance of collaboration, not just within the Jawarung community, but also with neighboring clans and even government agencies.
So he's really looking at the bigger picture,
He is, and he's really good at finding that common ground.
which is essential for this kind of work.
It is, and he gives this example of the differences between cultural burns on private and public land.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because on public land, there's this opportunity to educate the wider community about what they're doing.
Yeah, make it a learning experience.
Exactly. And it's not just about, like putting out fires.
Oh, definitely not.
It's about restoring balance to the ecosystem.
Right, bringing back those native plants and animals.
Yeah, and connecting with that ancestral knowledge.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
I thought so too. And Amos Atkinson picks up on that idea of restoring balance. He says, when the wrong kind of fire is used, or when fire is absent, the land suffers.
Makes sense.
And so do the animal. He even says that kangaroos don't taste as good.
Whoa. Oh, what?
I know, right? When they only have access to introduced grasses.
That's a pretty powerful statement.
It is, and it speaks to that deep connection between the health of the land and the animals that live on it.
Yeah, that's something Aboriginal people have understood for millennia.
Exactly, and it's something we're only just starting to rediscover.
Yeah, we've got a lot to learn.
We do. And Amos Atkinson also talks about how a whole generation missed out on learning these practices.
Oh, because they didn't have access to the land.
Right, and that's heartbreaking to think about.
It is all that knowledge loss.
Yeah, but thankfully it's starting to come back.
It is, and it's not easy.
No, it's not. Especially when it comes to working with government agencies.
Right, navigating that bureaucracy.
Yeah, Mick and Amos both talk about the importance of finding those champions.
Yeah, those people within the agencies who are really on board.
Exactly, people who are genuinely committed to collaborating and understanding the importance of cultural burning.
The ones who are open to new ways of thinking.
Yeah, and willing to bridge that gap between traditional knowledge and Western science.
Which can be a pretty wide gap sometimes.
It can be, but it's not impossible.
No, and finding common ground is key.
It is, and educating people about why this work is so important.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power.
It is, and Amos Atkinson also makes this great point.
What's that?
He says, being able to take a joke is an important quality in a good collaborator.
He's got a point there.
He does a little humor, it goes a long way.
It does. It helps to build those relationships.
It does, and speaking of different approaches to fire, Amos Atkinson makes this distinction between cultural burns and what he calls warfare burns.
Okay, warfare burns.
Yeah, he describes them as these hotter, more destructive burns that are often used by government agencies.
So like a scorched earth kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. It's mainly focused on fuel reduction.
Let's get rid of everything.
Pretty much, whereas cultural burns are about working with the land's natural rhythms.
It's a completely different philosophy.
It is, and it's about understanding how fire interacts with the ecosystem.
Right. Fire as a tool, not a weapon.
Exactly. And Mick Bourke, he talks about attending a National Indigenous Fireworks shop.
Oh, cool.
And he was so inspired by seeing young people being taught these traditional skills.
That's awesome, passing on the knowledge.
It is, and he wants to bring a similar workshop to Victoria.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
It would, and it just shows how important it is to share this knowledge across generations and communities.
Absolutely keep that flame alive, so to speak.
I love that, and I want to end this part of our conversation with this powerful quote from Amos Atkinson.
Okay, let's hear it.
He says, "We've got to get everyone on the same page."
That's a powerful statement.
It is, and it really speaks to the need for unity and collaboration.
Yeah, we're all in this together.
Exactly. It really does, and we should probably say something about that last part of collaboration, working with researchers.
Right, like Timothy Neal.
Yeah. What do we make of his advice for researchers who want to work respectfully with Aboriginal communities on this topic?
Well, I think the biggest thing that jumped out at me was his emphasis on relationships.
Okay.
It's not just about extracting information, it's about building genuine connections.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and that means listening to communities, understanding their priorities, and supporting their aspirations.
So it's more about being a partner than just a researcher.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that Aboriginal people are the experts when it comes to their own knowledge.
And researchers need to approach these collaborations with humility.
Yeah, and a willingness to learn.
It's a two-way street.
It is, and I think that's something we can all learn from, no matter what field we're in.
Absolutely. This whole deep dive has been so eye-opening.
It really has.
We've uncovered so much about the Jajawaring people's connection to their land.
Their masterful use of fire.
And the challenges they've faced in keeping those practices alive.
It's a story of resilience.
It is an adaptation and the enduring power of traditional ecological knowledge.
Like, think about it, 60,000 years of managing this land.
I know.
And then suddenly your practices are disrupted.
But the knowledge persists.
It's incredible.
It is, and it highlights the importance of collaboration.
Finding common ground.
Working together to overcome those challenges.
And ultimately, it's a story of hope.
Yeah. Hope for a future where we can learn from the mistakes of the past.
And create a more sustainable and just relationship with the land and with each other.
That's beautifully said. Now, I want to bring this back to you, our listener.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
What stands out to you from this conversation?
What resonates with your own experiences or perspectives?
How can we support the revitalization of Indigenous knowledge and practices, not just in Australia, but in our own communities?
And how can we become better allies in this journey?
These are big questions.
They are, but they're important ones to consider.
As you continue to learn and explore, remember the words of Mick Bourke and Amos Atkinson.
Walking together.
It's a reminder that collaboration is key.
And that we all have a role to play in shaping a better future.
It's been a privilege to delve into this topic with you.
Likewise.
And it certainly sparked my own curiosity to learn even more about Indigenous cultures.
The wealth of wisdom they hold.
It's a journey of lifelong learning.
And one that we can all embark on.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder.
Oh, okay. I like this.
We've talked a lot about the practical applications of Aboriginal fire management.
Right, the how-tos.
But there's a deeper layer to this story.
That spiritual dimension.
That's woven into the very fabric of Aboriginal culture.
It's about recognizing that interconnectedness of all things.
The deep spiritual connection between people and the land.
And the responsibility we all have to care for the earth and all its inhabitants.
This is a perspective that has been honored and passed down through generations of Aboriginal people.
And it's one that we can all learn from.
So as you go about your day, take a moment to appreciate the beauty and wonder of the natural world.
Consider that interconnectedness.
And ask yourself, what role can I play in healing the land?
Creating a more sustainable future.
And speaking of deeper connections, our sources mentioned this fascinating Jajawaring concept.
Jandakwi?
Jandakwi. Yeah, it's more than just a technique.
It's a whole philosophy of caring for the land.
Exactly. And it's not easily translated into English.
No, but it encompasses the Jajawaring people's aspirations for their land, their deep connection to it.
Their understanding of fire as a tool for achieving those aspirations.
It's beautiful how language reflects a culture's worldview.
It is, and I think exploring this concept of Jandakwi could be a fascinating journey for you, our listener,
A way to deepen your understanding of Aboriginal fire management.
and its significance.
It's a reminder that there's always more to learn
More to explore
and more to appreciate.
about the rich cultural heritage of Aboriginal Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we've been given this whole different way of seeing the world,
It really is.
a way of understanding our place in the ecosystem and our responsibility to care for it.
Like we're all connected.
Yeah. And that's what makes this deep dive so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about learning facts.
Right.
It's about expanding our perspectives and challenging our assumptions.
I love that.
And hopefully it inspires us to take action,
To make a difference.
to find ways to support the revitalization of Indigenous knowledge and practices, not just in Australia,
Right.
but wherever we are in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately, we all share this planet,
We do.
and we all have a stake in its well-being.
It's our home.
This has been a truly incredible journey of discovery.
I agree.
We've explored the depths of Jandakwi,
That philosophy of fire management.
and we've seen how this ancient wisdom is being brought back to life,
Yeah.
helping to heal the land and revitalize communities.
It's amazing.
And we've heard those powerful calls for collaboration,
Working together.
reminding us that we can achieve so much more when we listen to and learn from each other.
Absolutely.
And maybe most importantly, we've been reminded that fire, often seen as a destructive force,
Right.
can also be a powerful tool for renewal and regeneration.
When used respectfully.
Yeah, with knowledge and a deep understanding of the interconnectedness of all things.
It's all about balance.
It is. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's carry these insights with us.
Let's keep learning.
Yeah, let's continue to learn, to listen, and to find ways to support the efforts of Indigenous communities around the world.
The ones who are working so hard.
We're working to revitalize their cultures and care for their lands.
It's vital work.
Let's remember that fire, when used with wisdom and respect, can be a force for good
A force for renewal.
and a force for bringing people together.
Beautifully said.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning,
Keep diving deep.
and we'll see you on the next deep dive.